In today's video, I'm going to be showing you all of my Christy, Kira, and Midge dolls in my collection. The last time I filmed this video was back in April 2017, and in the almost 9 years, my collection has grown by roughly 20 dolls, if my calculation was correct. So really not by that much if you consider the amount of time that's passed. If you are interested in identifying your dolls using my collection, I implore you, rather than toggling back and forth in this video and trying to identify them that way, I have all of these dolls in this video as well as all of the other dolls in my entire collection, like all the dolls behind me, all my Barbies, all their outfits, accessories, playsets. All of that stuff is on my Flickr, which is like an encyclopedia of my collection. There's facial close-ups, separate photos of their outfits and accessories if I have them, fashion packs, etc. So if you want to know what my dolls are wearing, if they're in the incorrect outfit, or you want to know like information about variations or other like important notes about the dolls, check out my Flickr. You shouldn't in theory need one to view my stuff. It's going to be way more beneficial for you if you're identifying dolls than using this video. So Christy, Kira, and Midge were all beloved childhood favorites of mine, and I'm very sad that they no longer are part of Barbie's world, especially not Christy and Kira. Midge sometimes reoccurs. I still love them very much, and I'm always really excited to add any of these characters to my collection, though I don't always see them super frequently, so when I do, it's a real treat. Not all of these dolls are wearing the correct outfits or have the correct bodies. Some have haircuts, etc. They are not perfect because a lot of my dolls are thrifted from flea markets and thrift stores, and some of them are even rescued from the trash. So please just keep that in mind. And without further ado, let's get into the video. So we're going to start with Christy. We have Sun Sensation Christy, we have Tropical Splash Christy, and we have Sparkle Beach Christy. I got them all at different times at the local flea market, sometime in 2012 or 2013, still sealed in their boxes. For really affordable, which was very exciting. I really love beach-themed Christies because my first Christy I had as a child, who you'll meet in a minute, was from a beach line, and these girls are gorgeous. I've just had a lot of really good luck finding Christy dolls specifically boxed at the flea market. I feel like more of my Christies were boxed or purchased brand new than some of my other Barbie friends because she's my favorite. And I think of these three, I like the look of Tropical Splash the best because I love her bathing suit and her big gaudy earrings, and she also used to smell really good. But Sparkle Beach over here, it's kind of hard to see, but she has a really interesting head mold. She has the Nichelle head mold, whereas the other two have the 1987 Christy head mold. Share Smile Christy, I got her boxed at the flea market in 2017. I didn't actually know they made Christy for this line, but I had Becky boxed growing up. I got her at the flea market, and she was one of my sister's favorite dolls, so it's really cool that we got Christy as adults, and I just love her outfit, and she was also very inexpensive. So this was my childhood doll, my very first Christy. I think she was actually my first African-American Barbie. And I always preferred like the AA dolls or Asian dolls or any like dolls of color or from different ethnicities. I preferred over like the blonde ones because I liked to experience things outside of myself because, you know, as like a blonde little girl, I found blonde Barbies kind of boring. I saved up my allowance money for this Christy. I really just wanted a Christy doll, and these were really affordable. I remember they were like $7 in the store back in the day, and my sister actually, I believe, helped me pay for her. And you can see she does have cut hair. I randomly had the whim as a kid when we were showing like a scene of our doll characters going to the beach. I was like, oh, she needs a summer haircut. And so I chopped her hair off. Huge regret, but I am impressed I still have her swimsuit. We have Miss Purple Panic Christy. I had her as a kid as well. However, I got her when I was maybe 13-ish years old. I went through like a kick of buying dolls boxed at the flea market. My dad got her for me, and I took her out of the box, of course, but I displayed her in my room. We have Miss Soccer Christy. She is one of the newest acquisitions in this video. You'll meet a few other Christies that were from the same lot. But I got her in the Barbie Blast slot this past fall in 2025. I had noticed some very interesting African-American Barbies and Barbie friends underneath this guy's table, and there was also a big bag of doll clothes, and it was more than we would usually pay, but you very seldom find AA Barbies, let alone, like, pretty much all of them were AA variants, and it turned out a lot of them had their clothes. So she was kind of an outlier. She was really beat up comparatively, and she had like a name scrawled in Sharpie on her thighs, like Boateng or something. I believe someone had found it for me, but it's from an African country. She's a soccer player, so there was like famous soccer players that had that last name, so I think that's why they gave that to her. And then we have WNBA Christy. I bought her at the local flea market separately from this elderly couple that used to be our favorite flea market sellers. They stopped setting up in 2023, but I was really excited when I saw her at their table one week. She was probably like $3. Unfortunately, these dolls as they age are prone to like just cracking. You can see where I had to repair her later, but she is still in really nice condition, and I love the ones that have the twisty hair. We have Miss Happenin' Hair Christy. She's the original 1998 version. They did make simplified 2000 versions. I believe it's just Barbie and Teresa, though. Anyways, so for my 8th birthday in 1999, my dad took me to Toys R Us to pick out dolls, and I picked out Generation Girl Chelsea and Happenin' Hair Christy because I loved the bell bottoms and these like sneakers, and I just thought that they were really cool, and they had color change hair. And unfortunately, I purged some of my childhood dolls. Around the time, like a year later, when my grandmother moved in with us, we had a yard sale, and I have like OCD tendencies, and I'm pretty sure as a kid I had like the full-blown OCD, and I would have like an arbitrary number of dolls I wanted in my head, and I got rid of a lot of my favorites, and I would have a lot more Christy dolls had I not gotten rid of those. I'm still like looking to replace some of my childhood ones. But I was really lucky because at the start of 2013, we went to this local thrift store, and there were tons of really inexpensive boxed dolls, and they were anywhere from like $7 to $12, and I saw this Christy, and I just had to buy her. I ended up making a few different trips to pick off the dolls. I didn't get all of them, but I picked off quite a few, but she made, I believe, the first round because I was not going to let her slip through my fingers. I do still have my childhood dolls outfit, though, because I really liked it. I used to put her pants and, like, a bra on my Water Jewel Magic Jasmine because I thought that was super fashionable. Hollywood Nails Christy. So she is the simplified KB Toys version that was dated 2000 instead of 1998. So she doesn't have the articulated body or the nail polish on her hands, interestingly enough. I got her boxed at a flea market when I was a teenager. I really love this line, and I think it's cool that they made like simpler versions of some of those old collections. We have Rain or Sun Christy. She was one of my favorites growing up. I got her at KB Toys when I was maybe 11 or 12. I love dolls with two braids, and I liked Barbie and Teresa too from this set, but I ended up choosing Christy because she was my favorite. We have Miss Jam and Glam Christy. I got her in the fall of 2011 from a flea market lot we called, quote, the Generation Girl bin. I got like for $10 a whole zipper case and then a gallon-sized Ziploc bag filled with doll clothes and dolls. The Barbie, Teresa, and Christy from this line were all in that bag, and I had always wanted them growing up. And Christy, you can see, has like her shirt and arm things. She doesn't have her skirt. This is Barbie's pants. Sensation Christy. I got her at KB Toys as well when I was a kid. I really loved her very like bare face. She doesn't have a lot of makeup. She looks very natural. I just loved this look on dolls growing up. Beaten Beauty Christy. She was another one of those ones that I got at that thrift store boxed for like somewhere between $7 and $12. I picked her off the first time too. I love her like goldeny hair. She was one of the ones that I used to want as a kid, but I never got around to getting, and I actually did like try the bead gimmick out, but as you can see, it did not hold up well over the years. Super Gymnast Christy. She is from the quote-unquote Barbie Blast lot that I got my soccer Christy from, who I mentioned before. She had her outfit, not the jacket, but I had Barbie and Teresa's clothes like since childhood. They just were in a flea market lot I got, and so it's really cool that I got Christy with her outfit. We have Miss Cut and Style Christy. I had Barbie from this line growing up. Her name is Susan, and she's very special to me because my dad bought her for me, and he always remembered that Susan needed those like reloadable hair cartridges. I knew who this Christy was when I saw her at the flea market in 2014, and I was really excited. This woman had like a really scabby looking Generation Girl Barbie, this Christy, and a couple of others, and she said I could have like all of them for $5, and I was like, why not? And I love her. I still don't have her outfit, but she's awesome. We have one of my childhood favorites. This is Rio de Janeiro. I had a lot of dolls from this collection. I absolutely loved beach dolls, and specifically this line. I thought they were all super pretty. I had, I think, like all the female dolls from this set growing up. I picked her out at Walmart in the early 2000s. I played with her a ton. I love the highlights in her hair. We have Really Rosie Christy and the original Cali Girl Christy. They were both also from the Barbie Blast lot that I mentioned before. So very recent acquisitions. You can see Really Rosie has her whole outfit. Cali Girl Christy, I have her bottoms, but I don't have her shirt. I love dolls with this like really kinky, curly, beautiful hair. I just think it's gorgeous, and I wish more dolls had like special textures like that. And then we have Cali Girl So Excellent Earrings Christy. I got her at the local flea market in the summer or fall of 2015. She was part of the quote-unquote Disney store bin we bought because there was a lot of like Disney dolls, but another appealing factor was there were several AA dolls, like the Sew and Style dolls and this Christy. I think she's really unique looking compared to the others. You can see her head is like a lot bigger. So now we're going to move on to Kira. I am just going to warn you in advance that growing up, my sister told me that my childhood sensual Kira's name was Kyra, and I did not know that that was the incorrect pronunciation literally until like 2016 when I started my YouTube channel. So for like well over 20 years, I thought it was Kyra. I may slip up. I know it really upsets people when I pronounce names wrong. I promise I'm not trying to be disrespectful or something. That's just like 2-year-old me was told that her name was Kyra, and I thought it was a very pretty name. I call her Kyra when I'm talking about my dolls off camera, but I'm sorry if I mispronounce it in this video. So this is Wet n Wild Kira. I got her at the flea market in 2023. I saw this like bin that had random toys and stuff in it at the flea market on the ground, and I found her. She had a quote-unquote like fat head, like her head had separated from the body and it was squished down, and I think she was only like $1, so I bought her because I felt bad for her, and I could tell she was older. I wasn't sure if she was Miko or Kira or one of Barbie's other Asian friends, but I knew I wanted her, and it turned out she was on the wrong body. She had like the bent arm body, but I happened to have like the proper body for her at home. And I really love 80s Barbies, and these like late 80s beach dolls are always super funky looking with their like makeup and hair. 2 Hawaiian Fun Kiras. So the girl on the left here was my childhood gal. I got her in one of the flea market lots that my dad bought us way back in the early 2000s. My love of buying bins of dolls started in the early 2000s because my sister would want like a specific Skipper doll from flea market sellers, and they would be the type of sellers that wouldn't be parting the bin out. You'd have to buy the whole lot. And my dad, of course, who spoiled us with dolls, would just buy. He would spend like the $20 on the whole box. So we ended up really enjoying that because we got cool dolls and lots of clothes and accessories. And I had her whole outfit actually. I just didn't know who this doll was. And what I love about this line is that they have like the little Z's in their eyes. They have really cool eyes. And this lady next to her is one of my newer Kira dolls in my collection. I got her last fall in 2024. She was part of the quote-unquote Great 80s lot. It was one of the last weekends we went to the flea market, and inside the building, this guy that we sometimes have pretty good luck with, he had a case of like beautiful, minty looking, mainly 80s dolls and a few 90s ones, and there was some like Kiss and Cuddle Heart Family Mom that I really wanted, and it was super cheap for the whole case. I think it was like maybe $15 or something, and she was a duplicate, but she is just in such stellar condition. So this gal is one of my most sentimental Kira dolls. I got her in the early 2000s at an indoor flea market. She was actually still boxed, and my dad was interested in these toy trucks that the seller had. My dad used to collect toy trucks, and I had noticed Kira up on the shelf, and I thought, oh, she kind of reminds me of like Sunjul Kira. I love her swimsuit. She's really pretty. And my dad ended up like bundle dealing the trucks he wanted, and then this Kira, and then my first holiday Barbies I ever had, my 96 and my 97 Happy Holidays Barbies. They were all still sealed in their box. I think he got them for like the equivalent of $5 each or something. I don't remember, but it was a bundle deal. Anyways, to my great horror, when I got home, their boxes were infested with like black mold, and I didn't really know anything about cleaning dolls properly. Believe me, I had a process. Like, my dolls got cleaned when I got them. I would wash my store-bought doll's hair. I had my own like technique, though rudimentary. So I did wash her and like clean her swimsuit and stuff. And the mold was gone. She smelled funny for a long time, but the big issue was she had these huge black stains on her thighs and, or no, on her lower legs for years that I couldn't get rid of. But as an adult, I learned how to remove stains, and mold stains actually come out really easily, if you're wondering, from dolls, like really easily. Probably one of the quickest stains to remove. You're gonna have a lot harder of a time getting like pen ink out of a doll than mold stains. So she is good as new, and I absolutely love her, and that's where my love of the holiday Barbie line started. We have Miss Rollerblade. She was a very thoughtful gift. She was from the Mountains of Monsters lot we got in March of 2023. This very generous lady sent us 2 huge boxes of, I want to say it was like 150 something dolls. Large portion of them were Monster High. However, she sent me this amazing Kira. I made her earrings and I gave her this cute little outfit. I just love her. And you don't really see Kira dolls that often. We have 3 glitter beach Kiras. I have a special fondness for beach themed Kiras too, because we'll talk about her in a minute, but this was my first brand new store-bought Barbie growing up. So I saw her at the local flea market in 2015. A seller we used to call Tycho Eric guy had her in his box of dolls, and I handpicked her out separately. We always wanted to buy the whole box, but he wanted way too much money for the whole box, so we would just pick off things whenever he'd come. She does have like a broken neck that I had to repair, but she is super pretty. Then the lady next to her was from the Ken Suitcase lot of 2016. So on opening day of the flea market that year, this was probably the best flea market haul we ever had, honestly, because I got my American Girl Lindsay that day too. But this guy had a green suitcase that was filled with a lot of really mangy looking dolls from like the 80s and 90s, and tons of them were Ken dolls specifically, and there was a lot of Hart Family kids. So we were gonna buy some separately, but he was like really looking to get rid of the whole suitcase, and it just made more economic sense, and I felt bad for them because a lot of them were like decapitated in horrible condition, and I knew that the leftovers would surely get thrown out. So she is from that bin. And then the lady next to her is from the Color Splash Pocahontas lot of 2016. This guy that used to sell dolls at the flea market occasionally, he still sets up, sometimes he still has dolls. He had like a little container with some leftover dolls and clothes, and anytime he has like stuff like that that's hard to sell separately, he'll get us to buy the whole bin. You'll see one of my Midge dolls is from him too, but from a different lot, so that's where she's from. We have Miss Sunjul Kira. So my very first store-bought Barbie was Sunjul Kira. Obviously not this one. She is long gone, but my sister picked her out for me. So I want to say it was for my sister's 6th birthday in 1994. My dad took her to the store to pick out a Barbie, and I was really young. I'm like 4.5 years younger than my sister, so I was 2.5-ish at this time. When I was like really little, my parents didn't want me getting jealous of my sister's birthday gifts, so I would get something small. I remember my dad used to buy me those talking Tina dolls, the clone ones. I used to get those a lot for like my sister's birthdays when I was really young. I had a whole little collection of those. But he let Colleen pick out a doll, and she wanted Barbie from this line. And then she very thoughtfully tried to pick out a doll that looked the most like Princess Jasmine, because I was obsessed with Princess Jasmine as a kid. I still am. One of my favorite like Disney character dolls to have. And she thought because of the like black hair and the big earrings that she could kind of pass as Princess Jasmine, because I was always stealing her Jasmine doll. I probably had lost her Jasmine doll at that point, actually, already. She picked out Central Kira for me, and of course, my first thought was, oh, she looks like Princess Jasmine. And I played with her so much. My childhood doll was scary. I cut her hair. She had like little short, like half-inch pieces, like all around the crown of her head that kind of looked like a really bad mullet. Her earrings broke off. Her legs went so loose that when you picked her up, she was like a marionette. Her head had broken and fallen off, and she actually lost her head at this beach we used to swim in. It was like a little church beach. You had to be like a member of the church to go to it. And I let this other little girl borrow Kira, and her head fell off in the water, and she didn't even help us look for the head. But my sister was very insistent on helping me find Kira's head, and we did find it. That was kind of miraculous. Her face paint was also flaking off. So I got rid of her sometime, I think right when I started collecting dolls again, because there was no part of her that was salvageable. Like, she wasn't even a body donor at that point. I do have her swimsuit still, though. One of my Sensual Barbies is wearing it. So, anyways, in 2012 or 2013, a friend found this Kira at like an indoor flea market or something, still sealed in her box, and I, of course, paid her back for Kira, but I was really excited when she arrived in the mail. And she is just so gorgeous, way prettier than my memories of my childhood doll. 2 Tropical Splash Kiras. So I have this lady on the left growing up. She was from one of those flea market lots my dad bought me growing up. She doesn't have her earrings, but I always thought she was fabulous. And then the lady next to her is from the Bead Blast Barbie AA lot that we got in 2015. A seller at the flea market had a bunch of pretty nice looking 90s Barbies in like a tote bag, and there was the African American Bead Blast Barbie that I had always wanted. She's not actually Christy, that's why she's not in this video. She was in my 90s Barbie video, but that's why we bought the lot, and she may have been a duplicate, but she's actually, I think, a little bit nicer than my childhood doll and a little bit prettier. She doesn't have her earrings either. We have Glitter Beach Kira. I bought her at the end of 2019 at the local Salvation Army. I remember someone had donated a bunch of really nice looking 90s Barbies. They didn't have their clothes, but they were in really nice shape, and I very seldom find Kira dolls, so I just had to buy her. This is Flying Hero Kira. I got her boxed at the local flea market in 2021. It was when I was on my YouTube break. I remember I found her at this, I think she was from the like lady who sold the quote attic dolls. Back then she was set up outside, and I remember seeing her on the table for like $7 or $9, and I just had to buy her. Ocean Friends Kira dolls. This one I had first. I got her boxed at the flea market in 2013, I think. Someone had like a bunch of boxed 90s Barbies, and she was one of my picks. This girl is from the Clueless lot of 2017 that we got at the local flea market. We were going to handpick a few individual dolls from the seller because there were quite a few duplicates, but they were all in like amazing, beautiful condition, but the seller wanted to get rid of the whole box, so he made us like a deal that made more sense to buy all of them, and she's fabulous. So this doll is really special to me because I loved the Ocean Friends line growing up. I love the ocean, I love sea life. Free Willy was my favorite movie, I was obsessed with it. So when they came out with this line, I thought Kira was so beautiful, and I loved the colors of her outfit, but I ended up picking out Barbie because she came with the orca whale, and that is, to this day, my favorite animal. I think they're beautiful, and I would love to see them like in the wild. They're gorgeous. And we have Pearl Beach Kira. I had her as a kid. She was from one of the many lots my dad bought me back in the day. I knew who she was because they have very distinctive earrings, and I had Christy growing up, obviously. We have WNBA Kira. I got her boxed at the flea market. I always wanted her and Soccer Kira. I remember the commercials for these dolls as a kid, and I just thought she was awesome. So she was kind of like one of those ones I always hoped to find, and I could not believe my luck. We have Surf City Kira. She is also from the Ken Suitcase lot. She was definitely an outlier because the majority of those dolls were from the 80s and 90s, but there were a few from the very early 2000s. I'm thinking the kid that used to own them had like a lot of second-hand dolls that they inherited from like an older relative. And last but not least, this is Styled by Me Kira. So I got her at the flea market in 2023 from the elderly couple I mentioned before. I thought she was like a Fashion Fever or Fashionistas Kira doll, or, you know, Barbie doll. and I was really intrigued. She wasn't really wearing a great outfit or anything, but she was pretty cheap, and I got her at the same time as one of my dolls of the world, my Russian Barbie. But when I got home, it took me forever to identify her because she's actually on the wrong body. She is supposed to be on like a more standard body. I just don't have one that's pale enough for her right now. But these dolls were like ones that you could like customize on Mattel's website or in store or something at some store they have. And she was marketed as Kira, but you could like pick the outfit and whatnot for her, which is pretty cool. It was very hard to identify her. And now we're on to my Midge dolls. So this is the original Midge from the 60s, the straight leg one. I always wanted one of these Midge dolls because when I got my first collector book on Barbies, the Ultimate Barbie book, I just fell in love with some of the 60s dolls, and I'm a sucker for dolls with freckles. So she was like one of my Grail dolls, and I actually had the redhead version of this girl for a couple years. I found that doll at an indoor flea market for like $5. She was wearing the, what's it called, the Golden Dreams coat, and she was naked other than that. And I had her on my display in my room, but she was like half bald. Her eyebrows were all gone, her lip paint was all gone, her eyes were like missing a lot of paint, her fingers were missing the fingers, even like her toes had been like sanded down, and her bosoms had been too. Like someone had a lot of fun torturing that doll, and I had fixed her face paint and stuff, but she was decaying really badly. Her face would get like so sticky, it would like be oozing, and even if I had treated it like, she had no face paint, and there was nothing salvageable about that. So she sadly, I had to get rid of her. I had to throw her out, which very rarely happens. I always think fondly of that Midge, and I'm glad the last few years of her life she could be respected and admired and loved, because I don't even want to know what happened to that Midge before. I got this lady in the 2023? It was from the same seller that we got the Color Splash Pocahontas lot from. He once again saw us as we walked by, and he like called us over and pulled out this box that had a bunch of like Ziplocs of random doll clothes and some dolls, and there was some 60s items in there, like Colleen's, one of Colleen's skippers, straight leg skippers from the 60s that I rerouted. It was also in one of the bags, and I just could not believe my luck that this Midge was in there. And I did have to touch up her face paint. You can probably tell I'm not the best at that, but she is so very cute. And then we have the Wig Wardrobe Midge. So I had Wig Wardrobe Midge before her. I got Wig Wardrobe Midge in 2020 from the Tortured Treasures lot. I think that's one of my most viewed Dolly Transformations videos. But my sister's friend at her old job, her name is Kathy, she was cleaning out her boyfriend's attic with him, and there was a little file box of his daughter's childhood dolls, and he was literally going to throw them away, like just chuck them out. And Kathy stopped him because she knew that Colleen and me both collected dolls. Most of them were like from the era I grew up in, like the 90s, a little bit older, a few years older than what I had, but there were some 60s dolls in that box too that must have just been inherited from somebody else. I found Midge's head in that container, and I was so excited. She's not supposed to come with a body, but there was a straight leg body in that bin that I gave to her. I think it actually came from Swirl Ponytail, but Swirl Ponytail needed a lot of work. Like she needed her whole head rerouted and her whole face painted. And she actually still has a little headband thing on here. I guess those are known for coming off. We have my 3 California Midges. I actually got these 2 on the same day at the flea market, but I didn't realize they were the same doll. So we went to this really huge outdoor flea market in 2012 or 2013, and there was a seller who had like mugs that had dolls standing up in them. I got her and one of my Esmeralda dolls together, and then we went to our regular local flea market later on that day, and this woman had a basket with some dolls, and I picked out a few of her dolls, and I grabbed this Midge too because I love the old head mold with like the freckles. It's so pretty. And then I realized when I got home that they were the same. One of them I had to get a body donor for, this one, because she had some chew damage. She originally, I think, had the measles. like this girl, and this is not something you can treat. This is from the 2 types of rubber separating in the legs. And then we have my third girl. She was from the Ken suitcase lot that I mentioned before, but she's actually in really nice condition. Like, a lot of those dolls, they were rough, but she wasn't decapitated. She had really nice face paint. Her hair's in really nice condition. I mean, obviously I cleaned them all up, but she is kind of a diamond in the rough. And I also like the way her bangs sit the best of these 3. This is one of my favorite dolls in my whole collection. Probably my favorite Midge. She is Cool Times Midge. This is like my favorite Barbie line of all time. I had the soda shop as a kid. I found it boxed at the flea market in the early 2000s, and I played with it all the time. And I thought the dolls on the box were super iconic. So I was really lucky because when I first started collecting dolls again in 2011, we went to this antique store and I found her in a baby cradle at the antique store with her outfit. It's obviously not in the best condition, but I just could not believe my luck. And she was on display in my room too at some point with the soda shop. So these are both wedding midges from the 90s. You can see they look very different. So this one is the Connectlon haired variation. She's the Saran. That's why their shades of red are very different looking. So this lady here, I got her in 2014 at this local thrift store, and sadly this place closed, but they used to have like, it was the weirdest, grossest smelling place I've ever been in. It smelled like blueberry muffins and poo. But they had great deals on dolls. Like, the store was completely disorganized, but whenever you bring like stuff to the register, they'd always like knock off the price for you. So I got her for like, I think 75 cents, if that. And I rescued her because she was Midge, and her head was broken, so she was like smushed down. She had like the fat head look. Then her friend next to her, who's in much better condition, I got her in 2016 from the quote-unquote Fountain Mermaid lot, a seller at the local flea market. We got a few different bins from him over the years, but this particular bin I bought mainly for the clothes. There weren't actually a lot of dolls in the bin, but I was really excited when I realized that this Midge was in there because it's so fascinating how different they look. So this is Barbie and the Beat Midge. I got her on Memorial Day 2019. The flea market that we usually go to is open on Memorial Day Mondays in addition to Sunday. And the Salvation Army is always closed on Sundays because it's a religious organization. But it was open on that Monday when we went to the flea market, so we stopped at the Salvation Army too. And at the front up by the register, they had this basket with some very nice looking 80s and 90s Barbies. Like, one of my Happy Family Heart Family dads was in the basket, and they were all like pretty cheap, like maybe $3 each, and they knocked the price down more when we were at like paying. So she is in such amazing condition. I love her green eyeshadow. We have Miss Earring, a Magic Midge. I got her from the Ken suitcase lot in 2016 as well. I think she was one of the ones I had to get a body donor for. You can see she's kind of got some discoloration there, but I did recrimp her hair at some point. We have Camp Midge. She's one of my childhood dolls. For a time when I was younger, Midge was sort of phased out of Barbie's friend group. So when I found her at the flea market when I was pretty young, like I think my mom was still alive when I got her, from these sellers that used to have like doll cases they would sell and like some bags of clothes, I just had to buy her because I knew she was older. I still don't have her pants after all these years. I did reunite her with her vest, and she, I think, already had her shirt when I got her as a kid. She's really cool. She has like almost blondish red hair. Amazing jewel hair mermaid Midge, who I am always so impressed and grateful when I find these dolls that are as old as Midge that have not had their hair cut. I love this line. I mean, mermaids with really long hair, what's not to love? So I got her in 2023 at the local flea market from the elderly couple I got my Styled by Me Kira from. We have Miss Surf City Midge. She was a gift. I got her in the summer of 2024 from the quote Biggies and Barbies lot. These two guys very generously gave me and my sister 2 huge boxes of dolls, and I think the Barbies were from one of their personal collections. They were like duplicates or extras. And actually Brigitte over there, my soft sculptured girl, was one of the quote biggies from that lot. She's awesome. I remember wanting this doll as a kid, so I was really excited to see her. We have my 2 Palm Beach Midges. The one on the left was my childhood one. I got her for Christmas in 2002. It was my first Christmas after my mom passed away, and My dad kind of went all out and bought us a ton of stuff, and I remember she was on my Christmas list. Her doppelganger I got in 2014 from a flea market lot. I call it the Kelly bin because it had a lot of Kelly play sets and Kelly dolls in it. And now we're on to, the rest of them are all Happy Family Midge dolls. I was obsessed with Happy Family. Obviously I couldn't have been the only one because these dolls are extremely expensive to get online now. Like, stupid money, stupid. But I really liked their play sets a lot as a child, because I was all about making my Barbies have, like, not like a normal, reasonable amount of children, but like a gaggle of children. I had a school bus for my dolls, and at some point I made my Jasmine have like 30 different children, so I really loved this line. And this girl, the African American Midge, she was my childhood Happy Family Midge, one of them. I of course went for the AA variation because I thought she was so pretty. She uses the Teen Skipper mold, which is one of my favorites. Her name is Nefertiti, that's what I called her as a kid, and her baby I named Penny. And I did really like playing with her, though I admit I used her stuff a lot with my Jasmine doll. And as an adult collector, I really wanted the like classic, original, red-haired Happy Family Midge. So I got this girl first. It was sometime in the summer of 2011. We were at a big outdoor flea market. The same one I got one of my California midges at, actually. But there was a seller, we called him 50 Cent Guy, because he had like a bunch of dolls, like Barbies and Bratz, and if the dolls weren't dressed, they were 50 cents, and if they were wearing a piece of clothing, they were 75 cents. So I got this midge naked. She was in really bad shape. You can see her thumbs are broken. I had to get her anyways, and then not long after, we were at an indoor flea market in the city, and I found her dress on my cool blue Barbie, so that's how she ended up with her outfit. My pregnant lady next to her, she was a really awesome find. It was 2012 at the local flea market. I saw a Ziploc bag that had this midge, and then the Caucasian Ryan and the stroller that went to Ryan in a bag for like $5, and her Caucasian baby Nikki was in her tummy still, so that's how I ended up with that baby. I just could not believe it because I had all my Happy Family dolls growing up were the AA variations, not the Caucasians, so I was really stoked to find Ryan and a midge that was in nicer condition. And then my nicest lady over here, she doesn't have the tummy, but I got her in the quote Barbie Blast lot this past fall in 2025. I showed you some of the Christies earlier in this video who were from the same bin. She was one of the few Caucasian dolls, but she's like a really, really pretty Happy Family Midge and is in really nice condition. And she had, I don't think she had her outfit. I already had one of these in storage, I think. And then these two are actually the Happy Birthday Midge dolls. So I have the AA and the Caucasian. The AA one, I got her as a kid as well. I told you they were all the AA variants. My Alan and Ryan were also AA, and I almost got the AA grandparents as a kid. Anyways, I got her, I think, at Toys R Us when I was a kid. She was my second Happy Family doll, if I'm not mistaken. I really liked the stuff she came with, and she got a very, like, mom haircut, if you ask me, which I love. Caucasian girl, I had almost bought one of these used at the flea market when I first started collecting, but she was too expensive. So she turned up this past flea market season in 2025 at a regular seller's booth. I got my Iris Klops doll from that same seller, and this dress was actually attached to the fakie outfit she was wearing, and it just happened to look really good on her. It's really awesome finally having the Caucasian version of her, even if she doesn't have her outfit. And then last but not least, we have the Happy Family Neighborhood. She was quote-unquote the grocery store doll. She was packaged with like a little grocery store and her kids. I always wanted the AA version of that set growing up. I just never got around to picking it out. She was one of my first adult acquisitions way back in the day. I got her in 2011. I bought her separately at the flea market. I think she was naked. She's been wearing this fashion pack, this Diva Drive fashion pack, ever since I got her because this was one of my favorite childhood ones, and I think she looks awesome in it. I hope you enjoyed seeing all of my Christy, Kira, and Midge dolls. Like I said at the beginning of the video, if you are interested in identifying your collection using my dolls, feel free to check out my Flickr. It's linked below. I've thoroughly cataloged all the dolls in my collection, and it's going to be way easier for you to identify them that way. And until next time, love your dolls, love yourself, and love your life.